The International Pentecostal Holiness Church's 7-year-long succession battle is far from over. This after the Jerusalem faction instructed the two Modise brothers, Tshepiso and Leonard, who permanently withdrew from succession leadership court proceedings on Monday to vacate all church properties. The brothers withdrew court proceedings, saying they will be uniting against the church leader of the IPHC Jerusalem Church, Michael Sandlana. But now the Jerusalem faction, led by Sandlana, has argued that the properties occupied by the Modise brothers belonged to the church. They have given them 14 days to vacate the church properties. Joining me now is the IPHC Jerusalem spokesperson, Vusi Ndala. Mr. Ndala, thank you so much for making time for us. Have the two brothers vacated all church properties as they were instructed to?
Good afternoon, Clement, and good afternoon to Newzroom Afrika viewers at home. Firstly, Clement, let me say they have not vacated those properties, hence we have given them the deadline of 14 days. And we still maintain that they need to vacate those properties. And this has got nothing to do with who comes from where, with what background. Any person, not only the two brothers, but any person who historically has occupied those properties and not belonging to them in person but to the church, they need to vacate those properties. And I want to clear something as well, that properly, because of not having been given the proper background as to exactly who's who in the zoo, we are IPHC, we are being referred to as Jerusalem faction, but there's history as to why we went to Jerusalem and why we are called Jerusalem. But in essence, we are IPHC. And the two brothers actually contested to be the leaders of the IPHC. In court papers, the three parties that were involved in this matter, it was the two brothers and the church. Now that they have permanently withdrawn their case, therefore they leave the church. It is the church now that says, now that you have realized, it dawned on you that you don't have evidence to become leaders of this church. Now the church is the one that you says, now that we are here, this is our leader.
Mm-hmm. They have decided to withdraw from the succession leadership court proceedings. What does that decision mean for the church?
Look, what does it mean is, for example, on the 3rd of November 2018, the church, through a process that was in line with the custom and traditions of the church, ordained the leader of the church in the name of His Grace successor M.G. Sandlana, right? But realizing that this will put the two brothers against the church and not having an opportunity as they claim to become the leaders, then they contested. Tshepiso Modise filed this application in 2016 already, immediately after the passing on of His Grace Comforter M.G. Modise. So the church did not want him to be the leader. That was very clear. And he left to form his faction. Then his brother was supporting him, Leonard Modise. But a year later, Leonard Modise then said, no. My brother either is not even an anointed leader of the church, neither is our father, His Grace M.G. Sandlana. So therefore, their contestation came out of the background that here is the church that is identified. We want to be leaders of that church. But the church said, no, you have to come to court to prove that you are indeed the leaders. Now they've withdrawn. Unfortunately, they don't want to continue to give evidence as to why, we don't know. But we suspect that they don't have evidence whatsoever. It fulfills what we've been saying all these years, that they want the status quo to remain so that they can benefit at the expense of unassuming church members. Therefore, what does it mean? It means now that they are no longer contesting for leadership of the church, then the church remain with the leader whom it recognized in November 2018 as its leader. That's what it means, yes.
Are they still part of the church, though? I remember that there was a resolution that the brothers must never wear the IPHC church uniform. Is the other brother still going to lead another grouping? Where does it leave them when it comes to their participation in the church?
Look, in essence, what it means with this resolution having taken by the Church Council and the Executive Committee, it means that they can continue with their grouping wherever they want to group or to form their own worshipping gathering or whatsoever. However, they cannot do that in the name of the church, and they cannot do that wearing the uniform of the church. And they know exactly the rules, the custom, the tradition of what it means when you are no longer a member of this church. So they need to vacate the church properties, they need to stop wearing the uniform, and also they need to stop using the name of the church. They can continue. Their followers can follow them wherever they want to go, wherever they want to gather, but not in the name of the IPHC and the uniform of the IPHC.
I saw someone speaking on behalf of Tshepiso and Leonard, Modise, I think it's ABWC, who says that Vusi Ndala is not the leader of the IPHC. He says, well, the two brothers are now united and they're speaking in one voice, but that's not to say they recognize his position now as the legitimate leader of the church.
But under which context are they saying now that the two are united and therefore they don't recognize our father? Now, the big question is, Clement, let us be honest, and this is what we beg of media to consider and do. What the Newzroom faction and the Tshepiso's faction are doing, they are trying to sensationalize this matter. There are facts behind this matter. I think it is time that the facts are considered. Now, here's two brothers, they are claiming for the leadership, right? Now, they have the greatest opportunity to come to court and present to court that we are indeed the successors to the throne to lead the church. Now, at the last minute, they withdraw. They employed a lot of tactics, Clement. When the trial started in February, right, the first day, they filed various interlocutory applications, including the recusal of the judge, the excusal of the judge, not wanting the media, that the judge is being bribed, and so forth. They never won. They lost. And court orders were ordered against them, right, with the church having in favor of those cases being won. Now, they coming, realizing that they have no evidence whatsoever, then they withdraw. So it's basically the propaganda, because our father has a different surname to their surname as brothers of the late Comforter M.G. Modise. Now they are using that as propaganda. They are trying to convince and persuade unassuming members to follow them because of the surname. We've maintained for the past 4 or 5 years that this is not a family church. The two predecessors have said it publicly so, that this is not a Modise church. Unfortunately, we would have shown that as part of our exhibits and evidence in court, that the two predecessors would not have lied publicly so, that this is not a Modise church. This is the church that is led by God. It is not a Modise surname that works. It is the word of God that works. There's evidence to that effect. That was what we were going to present in court. But unfortunately, realizing the potential of their failure, that they're not going to prove their claim, then they withdrew at the last minute. When they say our father is not the son, he's not the leader, under which circumstances, Clement, look at this. For the last 4 years, in all the litigations where the church was involved against them in particular, respectively, both or respectively, the church has always been the applicant or the respondent, the church, and they come as individuals. The costs were awarded in many instances in favor of the church. For example, with the leadership case that has just been withdrawn right now, they are ordered to pay the punitive cost. And you know why punitive cost? Because of their tactics, not taking the judiciary serious, not taking this process serious. That's why the costs are punitive. And guess who are they going to pay the cost to, respectively so? They are going to pay those costs to the church. And who is the church under these circumstances? Mm-hmm. On Thursday at our media briefing, I emphasized that here's evidence where the church is mentioned as the church that is represented by us. the congregation that is referred to as Jerusalem. The reason we are referred to as Jerusalem is because Leonard Modise was congregating somewhere in Lenasia between 2017 and 2018 October. Now, having heard that our father, his great successor, MG Santlana, is going to be ordained the following week, then they came and invaded Zirbekom. Now they are using Zirbekom because Zirbekom has been a headquarter. Now they are using that as if they've been there from the onset. They haven't been there. They left to form their own factions, and then they invaded. Now, firstly, they are using the Zirbekom as the headquarter. Now they are using the same name as a way of saying this is a Modise church. We are saying we are not denying that the founder of the church is a Modise. His legacy will never be forgotten. But this is not a Modise church. It's an institution that is independent, that belongs to members.
Where does this leave those members you speak of? The confusion around who's leading, who's legitimate, the fights in the courts. What impact has all of this had on the congregation?
Unfortunately, Clement, as we've been saying, that we would really plead to the media to help us, because you have an influential voice in terms of setting these matters also to facts. For example, most members know how it came about that Leonard Modise and Tshepiso Modise came to where they are as we speak. We are trying our utmost to ensure that wherever there's confusion, that was the purpose of the media briefing on Thursday, that this is where we are, this is what we are. However, like we have said, that in 14 days, they must vacate. Now there's this propaganda that we are going to come there causing conflicts, like it has happened in the past, like we have seen, and blaming us and so forth, where we were not even involved. That is not going to happen. We are not that kind of people. In 14 days, if they haven't vacated those properties, we'll take further steps, legally so, right? We'll take further steps. So, but at the end of the day, we'll pursue the truth. We'll ensure that this confusion is cleared once and for all. And also, we are concerned with those factions, in particular the Zirbekom faction, using this propaganda by identifying some journalists which are not doing justice to journalism, and to help us at least have this confusion sorted out. Then they engaged journalists, bogus journalists, to write propaganda about our father so that it appears that His Grace MG Santlana is a crook, he's a killer, he's a criminal, when that is not true. There are cases before courts. Those allegations will be tested there. Let them be patient and those allegations be tested there. We have said it in the past that we had issues with some bogus police using state resources for factional battles. We've said that. We are on record having said that. We organized the biggest march that a church had organized in this country on the 28th of March 2022, complaining to the Minister of Police of the factions using law enforcement agency for their own fictional gains.
And when is the church going to move to the headquarters?
Look, after the 14 days, they have to do us a favor and vacate those promises. If they are not, then as I'm saying, we'll take further steps. But what we must state also is, we from 2018 November, there were arms, guns, rifles, and we have heard rumors that some corpses are being buried in the sewages there. So what we will do when they vacate, we'll ensure that we call the police to go and clean up the places, clear, comb the area, so that when we go in there, we'll not also have these allegations to say those guys went there and therefore this and this they did. But ultimately, in 14 days, if they don't vacate those premises, we'll take further steps.
Vusi Ndala, thank you for making time for us.